I'm Sarah Hashim-Waris from the Los Angeles Times newsroom. For almost 17 years, one of the city's most notorious serial attackers, dubbed the Teardrop Rapist, has eluded authorities and attacked at least 35 women from Hollywood to South LA. You may have seen composite suspect sketches on billboards throughout the city. It's part of the Los Angeles Police Department and FBI's amped-up efforts to catch the evasive serial rapist. Joining me now is Times staff writer Richard Winton to discuss police efforts and the search. Richard, so let's start off with the name, the Teardrop Rapist. Explain where that comes from.
Oh, the name originally comes from some of the victims identified him as having a mark or maybe a tattoo below his eye on one of his sides of his face, and initially that's how they were describing him, as the Teardrop Rapist. They're not even sure today whether that's a real mark or what it is, because some victims have seen it and some haven't over the years.
So now these composite sketches that we've seen on billboards throughout the city that the LAPD has released, not all of them look like each other. I mean, it's a span of over 17 years.
Yes, the years make a big difference. They also say the differences are because of what he wears on his head. People are drawn, their eyeliner is drawn to different things. He sometimes wears a beanie, sometimes a cap. They also say that some people, depending on their age, view a person differently. But there are 11 of these sketches currently out there. In 5 of those cases, we actually know, the LAPD does, that the DNA from the crime scene actually matches to the same individual. While they don't know who that individual is, each one of these DNAs matches. So even though they don't necessarily look alike, they are the same person.
And speaking of DNA, it was left behind in at least 10 of the attacks, correct?
At least 10 of the attacks are matched by what they call case-to-case DNA match. We have big databases now across California, and they collect crime scene data and analyze all the DNA, and in 10 of these cases they've matched. The other cases, the 25 they have, which spread throughout, mostly down a corridor through Los Angeles and slightly into LA County, they are matched basically by how he did the crime. They're very similar.
And how did he do the crime? There's a specific time period and quick method.
The way, basically he operates between 5 a.m. and 8 a.m. Early morning, he looks for women alone. Typically they're waiting for something to be picked up or going somewhere or walking alone. He'll initially talk to them, produce a weapon, usually a gun or a knife, pull them into a sort of an alleyway or an out-of-the-way area, and then attack them.
And the suspect that we're talking about is allegedly a Latino male between the ages of...
He is now believed to be between the ages of 40 and 55, about 5'2 to 5'6", 130 to 170 pounds. He's not a very big man, but he acts very swiftly and seems to be aware that he can get caught.
Now tell me about this $100,000 reward and the tip line. Do you know if LAPD and the FBI have received any leads through this tip line?
They've started to receive some leads in the last 24 hours after they put up the system. They've made a $100,000 reward now in this case. They basically are looking for information. The information had dried up. They've had efforts over the years to try and find this man, but the story gradually drops out of the news and then people forget about it. And we haven't actually had an attack by this attacker in about a year now. So now they're trying to get some new leads. They're hoping that someone out there knows something about this man. They know he's anchored to LA by something, and he comes back. There have been periods where he seemingly didn't attack anyone, or at least no one reported it. But he has struck repeatedly since 1996.
Let's talk about one of those periods where nothing seemed to have happened or nobody reported. I believe it was in 2005 or 2006, correct?
Yeah, about 2005 through 2011, there are no reported attacks. They say reported. They're not sure there's really a hiatus, because the problem is there may be a case that he's attacked someone who's just not reported it for various reasons. You know, sex crimes are not always reported. So they're not discounting he was active in that period. But since 1996, he has had about every other year or so on, he's attacking somebody, and they do believe it is the same man.
Okay, and the women who have come forward are between the ages of 14 and 41. Did they fit any sort of similar description, or?
No, the only thing really similar about them is they were alone. It was early in the morning. There wasn't anyone around. In the last time he attacked, in June 2012, after pulling the woman to the side, he got startled. A car came by and pulled in really near to him, and then he just ran off, and that was the last he was ever seen of him.
And I think the big question that I want to close with is, how has this man evaded police for so long?
The key is usually these kind of criminals tend to get caught for some other crime, and then their DNA, and the way it works now, when you get arrested for crimes here, your DNA is taken. You're convicted, your DNA is taken, and it usually gets put into the database. And then that's how they're tending to find these serial criminals these days. This guy's DNA is not in any database, not probably in the United States, because the FBI is now involved in this case. They have not been. They've also even tried what they call familial search, is very rare, which means none of his relatives have been caught either, in sort of the immediate family for doing anything. So he's probably, well, they don't say it, probably someone who's not in the criminal fraternity. He may live in a nice suburb or near LA, and he's probably not the kind of person who generally would be thought to be a criminal on his face.
All right, well, thank you for the insights, Richard. The LAPD is urging anyone with information on the Teardrop Rapist to call its 24-hour tip hotline at 877-527-3247.